We're back out of bounds. ESPN 105.9 The Zone. We had a cool topic today. We're going to visit with our next guest about, well, a couple of them. But first, is your coach a cook or a chef?
I think our guy is a what's the person that comes and cleans up the table?
Busboy.
Yeah. Let's just see if we can get him in the kitchen as a short-term cook right now.
Are you talking about the Browns?
Yeah.
Well, I was thinking college football.
Oh, well, Lincoln Riley's my guy.
Lincoln
So,
Riley's
yeah.
unbelievable.
I mean, he could really write his own check right now if he wanted to go into the NFL.
Yes, he could.
Be careful. The Oklahoma fans are listening today. they've been on our timeline.
Let me read you this tweet. Dan Orlovsky.
Yeah.
The difference between a great play designer and a great play caller is like the difference between a great chef and a great cook. Cooks can read the recipe and make the dish. Chefs are in constant creation. There are plenty of cooks. The great offenses have incredible chefs.
100% accurate.
Yep.
I mean, that's what you see. I think we've got maybe, what would you say in the NFL right now?
Well, you got Sean Payton, who's an
that's
absolute freak.
Yeah.
In fact, to me, he's the Lincoln Riley. They're mirror images of each other in different levels of football.
But continues to, develop, evolve, and, he's not going to be set in his ways. I would even say Belichick.
Yeah.
I mean, people don't give him enough credit for what he does on the offensive side of the ball, the game planning that he does. Definitely those two. And I'm just thinking, who else would be in that category?
Well, all right. So I think McVay will bounce back, believe it or not, because I think they'll get their offensive line right. By the way, Chuck Mullins, CoxwellLaw.com, live in the Bank Plus studio. Sorry, I didn't introduce him. We'd been talking for 5 minutes before and teased that he was coming on, but he is Chuck Mullins, CoxwellLaw.com. He's our NFL insider. There is one thing that I disagree with Chuck on. Well, there may be many, but we're going to get into something here. But let's go through this. All right.
Okay.
Sean Payton, Bill Belichick,
right.
McVay. I think Shanahan is special. And Garoppolo, it doesn't look to me like Garoppolo they think is quite in that special spot. But Shanahan can elevate his play. We see that all the time.
He already has.
Yeah, I was going to say what he did with the Browns in 2014.
Okay, well, you would know that. I wouldn't.
With Brian Hoyer and Johnny Manziel.
Ouch.
I mean, when I went to several of those games, I went to 3 of their games that year.
Okay.
Why?
And how we let him get away.
Sorry.
We were actually 2-1 in the games we attended.
Yes.
We only got beat.
Then go to more.
But Shanahan is, that's a good. I'm going to give you another one. Just came to my head. I was thinking of Shanahan. But how he's developed over the years and his offense, that's kind of like almost the new offense in the NFL. That play action, stretch zone read, RPO type thing. But what about, and I didn't see this coming, Arizona's coach.
Kingsbury.
I did not see that coming.
No.
I mean, and of course, he's only had 1 year.
It's early.
But what they did last year with a rookie quarterback, what I would consider I don't want to say gimmicky because Kyler Murray's an exceptional athlete.
Right.
But not your prototypical NFL quarterback by any means. And what they're going to do this year, and they've added some offensive firepower. It's really hard to see it's hard to tell what's going to happen, but I would actually almost put him into that chef type based on his offensive coordinator stuff so far.
What about, Shanahan's play call in the Super Bowl that was wide open late in the game.
They just missed.
Where Garoppolo doesn't just miss, Chuck.
Yeah.
But miss big. And I get that even great quarterbacks miss, but he had been holding that and holding it, and it was everything you wanted. He got it.
That was one of the games I've watched in the pandemic, by the way.
Yeah.
And just, I forgot about that play.
Right.
And, they had the Chiefs, put away, and that was going to be it.
Right.
And I mean, you're right. You could see the separation, and the ball was nowhere close to the receiver.
In the NFL, that's rare, by the way.
It is.
I mean, guys miss, but you don't miss by much. It's like the PGA. You may miss on the green, but you don't miss by much.
Yeah, you just can't do that. And
you also don't get open receivers in the NFL.
No, that's
But you're right. He'd been setting that call up all game and just had the perfect boom. And,
Okay, so Sean Payton.
Yes.
Freak.
Yes, absolutely.
What do you think about McCarthy?
And the reason I took a heavy sigh and a breath there was because, in Green Bay, they couldn't wait to get rid of him the last few years because of his lack of innovation. Here you got Aaron Rodgers as your quarterback, and of course they went far, but everybody wants to go to the Super Bowl. It's Super Bowl or bust for those type teams. I don't know that I would say. I'm gonna take that back. I would actually say he's a chef.
Yeah,
I just think he was very underappreciated in Green Bay.
He's pretty damn good. Yeah, he's just not maybe but he also doesn't have the look.
Yeah, he doesn't.
I mean, we kind of like he's a big dude. Right? Sean Payton has the look. Yes, yeah. Shanahan has the look.
Well, Andy Reid's
and that's
like
where
that.
I'm going. That's where I kind of disagree because Chuck said something last time he was in studio that really surprised me.
Andy Reid slander.
Loves the NFL. I mean, I watch the NFL. Chuck watches it nonstop, follows it year round, whatever. But he surprised me when he said, I'm not that high on Andy Reid.
Well, and of course, let's put it this way. There are 32 NFL head coaches.
Right.
It's one of the most elite professions in the world. So when I say I'm not high on him, within that 32, everybody looks at Andy Reid and they give him credit for everything on the Chiefs roster.
Right.
And they forget that John Dorsey was the one who drafted most of those folks.
Right.
And he's benefited, and that's okay, but he's benefited from, Patrick Mahomes, the $500 million man.
Right.
All the firepower that Kelsey and that they've had around them. And so I'm not saying, it's easy for anybody to get in there and do that. I'm not saying that whatsoever. I just think maybe he gets a little too much
credit
for that.
But Donovan McNabb, I could argue, was limited a little bit, yet he was good. There's a difference between good and great. But they went to 4 or 5 NFC championship games and 1 Super Bowl.
Right.
That's pretty heavy stuff.
And he did that when nobody in the scouting department wanted McNabb. Yeah. And also why you need to appreciate Andy Reid even more is he had the stones to send Alex Smith packing on a guy who had played 2 football games in the NFL.
I was thinking about that the other day for whatever reason. I don't know. Because he had such a great season.
He had arguably his best statistical season ever.
And they were only sitting him out the last game because they'd already clinched, I think it was #1 seed.
They were 13-3, I think.
And they saw whatever they saw from Mahomes. We're going to get rid of you. And I was like, man, that's so stupid. You guys are going to regret that. Who knows?
Right.
I mean, really.
Let me throw you a curveball on a coach that you haven't mentioned that I think is the quintessential definition of what Orlovsky calls a chef. John Harbaugh. He's successful, wins a Super Bowl with the most boring white statue quarterback in the history of the league in Joe Flacco.
No question.
And then turns around, completely scraps his 25 years of offensive history and says, let's run the Lamar Jackson offense.
Harbaugh's a freak.
That's pretty remarkable.
And
Ozzie Newsome.
Yeah, I'm going to say one or two things on Harbaugh. As you know, I hate the Ravens because I'm a Browns fan. But
I saw the salt dig into that one.
Well, former special teams guy, which if you read anything about NFL, what special teams guys are really highly thought of to be a head coach.
Joe Judge.
New York Giants.
Yeah, there you go. But when they announced it, I was like, man, they missed on this one.
Yeah.
It's just not. And what he has done, I don't know how much credit he gets for the play design, but to be able to take, like you said, the statute quarterback and run his offense based on that, and then what they have going on
just
right now,
completely scrap it.
It's a 180.
Yeah.
And it's really tough to watch because they did that almost mid-season.
They didn't even know what they had.
No.
Really. Yeah, I agree with that.
I mean, they had Harbaugh got hurt, so they bring in Lamar, and at that point it was kind of
Flacco got hurt.
Yeah, I'm sorry, Flacco got hurt. They bring in Lamar, and they completely change and scrap, and that's what you have to do.
But so many coaches don't do that.
They don't. I
mean,
that.
Jeff Fisher had Vince Young and was
there
like, "I'm not going to run this."
And you know who? But you know who Vince Young's offensive coordinator was? Norm Chow.
That's right.
So you
forgot
think
about
that you bring in Norm Chow, and why they didn't draft who was the lefty quarterback at USC?
Matt Leinart.
Matt Leinart. They had a chance to draft Leinart. That's Norm Chow's guy.
They took Young,
so you're thinking, hey, we're going to run that whatever they did at Texas offense.
Well, the spread for the most, I mean,
Sure.
really, they got the spread offense before it was really popular.
And they didn't. And of course, I think Vince had a couple of good years early on, got hurt, and he was never going to be Joe Montana sitting in the pocket.
No.
He's going to be that, use his abilities like they used Cam Newton for years.
Right.
Like they used Michael Vick.
Yeah.
And some coaches just refuse to do that. Now, why? I don't know. They say they want to draft guys to their system instead of playing to the strengths of their players.
Right.
And, those are short-lived coaches, in my opinion.
So at the college level, real quick, before we get into this article, Learfield IMG contracts with colleges, which they have everybody.
Yeah.
All right, chefs, Dabo, Lincoln Riley. Would you consider Mike Leach a chef?
I think offensively, yeah. If you're thinking overall, I mean, some of the stuff he's done, I think one of the reasons why 20 years later that we're running the spread offense so much goes right to Mike Leach.
Well, Mahomes?
Yeah. I mean,
That's Leach.
It's, his footprint on the game. Because think about in 99, the wishbone running Oklahoma Sooners
Hired Leach.
And I'm thinking, what's going on?
Yeah.
And then they come out here with Josh Heupel,
right?
Spread it out and throw it. And, I've been watching Oklahoma play since 77. And to see that was just so unique. But then it caught on. The Big 12 went from being a very run-oriented defensive school, to being wide open now that everybody says they don't play defense anymore.
Right.
And that's Mike Leach.
That's Mike Leach.
They had to keep up with him. What's the story you tell about when Leach was at Kentucky with Mummy? Am I misremembering this? Where Florida...
We said
blew
that
him out.
yesterday.
Yeah.
They beat him by 50 one year, and then Leach comes back, and they only win by like 7, and Stoops is like, who the heck is this
That's it.
guy?
Bam.
And I mean, so you have to install the same offense to keep up because defense can't get. So in that sense, I think it's almost being an innovator. He probably won't get credit for that. But
Well, that's why his coaching tree is so massively
incredible,
different than
Chuck.
Saban's. That's what we said earlier.
Lincoln Riley being one of them.
Yeah.
Leach creates chefs. Saban creates cooks. They just follow his recipe.
that's a great point. I'll give you that. I mean, that's because you can't follow and do what Saban does. And I think that.
Same thing with Belichick.
Oh, exact same thing. I've had a Belichick coaching tree. Romeo Crennel. I mean, trust me. I watched that. I know how that works.
Charlie Weiss.
Yeah. I mean, Charlie Weiss is a perfect example. I think Notre Dame's still paying him, by the way.
I think they are.
I think so.
It's like Bobby Bonilla.
Yeah.
All right. Chuck Mullins, CoxwellLaw.com, law attorney on the Out of Bounds Show, ESPN 105.9, the Zone law partner, CoxwellLaw.com. We brought Chuck on. We've got 10 minutes right now. This will be plenty of time. Learfield IMG is a multimedia rights company conglomerate. They have all these contracts with Mississippi State and Ole Miss and Alabama and so on. They buy all the rights, guarantee a fee, and then they go sell, radio marketing, all the Jumbotron and all that kind of good stuff. They're now trying to do something called force majeure, or however I'm supposed to say it, and restructure contracts and delay payments. So we wanted to bring Chuck in, and I just wanted to tee that up for everybody because this is a ripple effect of the pandemic. Chuck, do they have a case? Where are we? What's your one big takeaway from the Dan Walken article?
Well, first of all, I'd never heard of Learfield IMG. I'd never heard of it.
Really?
Yes. And I was fascinated with their business model. I just couldn't believe the colleges. If you don't think
It's the best pyramid scheme in the
oh
group.
my God, if you don't think college football is a big, huge business, then you're not reading. But yeah, I think they've got a great argument. Force majeure is like an act of God clause that's built into most every contract. So in this case, they're arguing that the pandemic has limited their ability to recover their fees from the schools through the sponsorships. So I don't know the exact details in every contract because you say that you've got some in Mississippi, Oklahoma, Alabama.
Right.
Each state contract law varies. But let's assume that it's just a general force majeure language. That doesn't excuse them altogether. It delays their execution of the contract.
Right.
So, and I think it's built for this type of situation. What I'm surprised at is that Learfield didn't get business interruption insurance. to, like they did it at Wimbledon.
Right.
Finally paid off.
140 million.
Yeah. But yeah, this is going to be you're talking about a ripple effect, and I heard you briefly mention this, but what's this going to do to the non-revenue sports at these colleges who depend on football?
I was told by people in the business that not one team will suit up
How can
unless football is played.
Yeah, I mean, that's
there will not be a golf round, a tennis match, a softball game played unless football is played.
Yeah, I mean, how could you? I mean, that's what
Because
everybody
people are
wants.
talking about flipping it, and what I've been told, they're talking about doing the spring sports this fall, and everybody's like, no, you lose money on the spring sports. So that's not. I think people have thought, well, this will be fun and cute. We'll just switch it. That's not how it's going to happen.
No, and I've never been. I'd rather have it than not have it. But it seems like football in the spring is so un-American.
Yeah.
I mean, I'd hate saying that, though. That's stupid. But when you think about your fall, you don't think about, non-football.
Well, I think they also need cash flow, a lot of them sooner than that.
Heck yeah.
Not everybody, but sooner than that from what I gather.
Yeah, and I've seen so many of these smaller schools, not that small. Boise State just canceled their baseball team.
Yeah.
Diving, swimming, all that stuff. So, yeah, what's going to be interesting is the revenue sharing that they have in place with the schools. Now, the schools have a good point, too. And they're saying, look, there's one thing you're doing with we understand the pandemic, but now you're trying to go back and rewrite our contract terms.
Right.
And that's where the lawyers enter. You see, because we have a contract for this, and if you want to cancel, you still have to, you get a delay.
Right.
But we want to go back to this guaranteed money. I want my 10 to 15 million a year.
Right.
And I think they have a good argument there. So it's going to play out. I mean, let's assume they have a school in every state, which I'm pretty sure they do.
Yeah.
At least one school. It's a lot of litigation. Probably ended up doing a class action similar to that. But it's going to be very hard.
They can't. The numbers don't work for them to be able to afford that.
Yeah. I mean, it's
because I don't know if you could put a number on it, but you're talking about tens of millions of dollars in legal fees.
Or
over 100 million.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Well, and the problem that I see is that you're still not getting your money coming in if you're not playing sports. So nobody's winning in this situation.
And if they don't play football until January, then you're looking at another 6 months of how they structure these payments.
And then there's the B word, bankruptcy.
Right.
And so,
will they restructure?
Yeah.
And then are their contracts null and void?
The schools would have to file a claim with bankruptcy court and litigate that in wherever they're filing bankruptcy to see whether they get paid on that or not.
Which would be probably dimes on the dollar.
Yeah, because they're going to have so many creditors.
Right.
It's, of course, the people that owe them money.
And it looks like they front-ended a lot of this thinking that they would get their money, as you read on the Dan Walken USAtoday.com article, thinking that they would even generate more revenue on the back end, especially with big boy schools like Alabama, which has got to be in that $10 to $15 million range.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, and, when you outpay that money, you're taking the risk, and they want schools to step in and take the risk. But you think about every college, it would have to go through every, Mississippi has the Institute of Higher Learning.
Yeah,
the board. They would have to approve every contract. I mean, schools can't make that up on their own, I don't think, because that's a big,
chunk of change.
Check, yeah. So I think
and Keith Carter and John Cohen are relying on this.
Absolutely.
Just like Greg Byrne at Alabama or Scott Strickland at Florida.
You're literally, factoring this money into your budget every year. And that's why you're seeing coaches taking pay cuts. Not taking, they're getting pay cuts.
Right.
Because there's no money coming in.
And there's more of that coming.
Oh, it's a ton. So, it's like the Mahomes contract. I was thinking about this. We've gotten, the college football and pro sports have gotten so big. Let's just focus on the college aspect because these are amateur players, so the players aren't getting anything. Yet.
That's coming.
And we've basically priced ourselves out. When you get something like this happened, we got no sports. Right. I mean, because money drives it. And if there's no money coming in, ain't nobody playing.
Right.
And so
that's why the NFL is going to play. I mean, Goodell hadn't checked up. You can tell they're in the bunker.
And I'll give a caveat. I hate to be Debbie Downer on a Tuesday, but I really think that with the players' union is so strong, and if we see spikes in certain areas, Arizona, Florida, that's still in question. I don't know the answer, but I just see the players union say we're not going to risk it. And, if you don't have fans at the game, it's not because it's not safe, then why are you putting us out there? I can't think of a more sport ill-suited to play during this particular pandemic.
Football.
Yeah, it's like a petri dish, every locker room. The
Yeah,
sweat.
I think the counter is the death rates are plummeting, and that age group is little to no risk.
And I agree that at that age, but the problem is if they start overwhelming our hospital systems, that's going to be the issue, because then people that are older people can't get in, or we got a crowd. And that's the situation. Yeah, the death rates, according to the statistics, the data that we're seeing are lower, but people are getting sicker at a higher rate.
Right.
And they're overflowing the hospitals. So if you put all these folks together in the fall, it's just going to compound it. And then we got flu season. I don't know. It's crazy, man. I mean, it's just.
I think Goodell is going to play ball. I do. I think it's a $12 billion company, so to speak.
Sure. The Shield.
And, I mean, they may not start on September 5th or 7th or whatever that date is, but I think they're going to roll. Now, college will be interesting, but who knows if you can start in the spring?
Well, I mean, as I can't remember who I see on Twitter was talking about this, and it's like, why is it going to be safer in the spring? January, February, March. That's flu season.
So that's what's interesting to me. I don't know. I don't have a source. Well, but I think they're going to play. So we'll see.
Hey, players want to get paid too.
Well, how long? See, we forget that most guys aren't Mahomes and Breeze.
Right.
Most guys are making, and this is still a lot of money, but the guys that are making $600,000 to $800,000 that are also in the union. See, I think they're actually going to push Chuck to say, dude, I haven't gotten a paycheck since, because they only get paid during the season.
That's correct.
I hadn't gotten a paycheck since January 5th.
Yep.
And after tax, these guys haven't had a chance to build this big nest egg. They're 24, 25 years old. I actually think their voice is going to be, I want to play.
And that's what I was explaining to my son, is like, you only get one check a year. I mean, during the season. That's your game check.
Right.
Unless you got roster bonuses in off season, you're not getting paid.
No.
So, I mean, how many 20, 21, 22-year-old kids actually think about saving up money? No, they're spending it on, who knows what, like we would be doing.
That's an expensive lifestyle to be a part of.
Absolutely.
And you feel like you have to be included with your teammates when they go out and do stuff, so you're spending that money left and right.
The teammate that's making $4.5 million, and you're making $800,000.
He's not paying for you to go to the club with him, but you're expected to be there. That's
right. And most people are sitting there thinking, that's not after tax. First of all, you're taxed 30-something%.
Yeah.
And then they haven't had 30 years to build up this nest egg. Well, I think the overwhelming majority of the rosters are going to say, we got to play because I need to get paid.
They have to get paid, and I agree. That may drive it. We'll see. I want to watch football.
Me too. And you want to play fantasy football.
That's right.
All right. Chuck Mullins, CoxwellLaw.com. On the app. Thanks for coming in, dude.
Absolutely, man. Thanks for having me. Enjoyed it.
It's going to be interesting to see what happens with Learfield IMG and their contracts with all the colleges around the country. Thanks for listening to the show. The podcast is on Podbean, Spotify, and Apple Podcast. And don't forget about our YouTube channel. Search Out of Bounds Sports. We will see you tomorrow. Thanks for listening to ESPN 105.9 The Zone.
Swoochie Boochie, good morning to you.